Welcome to the Intuitive Ascending Mind podcast with your host, Aliyah Yasmin Khan. Throughout this series, you'll learn how cultivating a growth mindset can unlock your true potential and impact every aspect of your life. Join Aliyah and her guest each episode as they dive deep into strategies for personal development and lasting transformation. Now, here's Aliyah.
Welcome to the Intuitive Ascending Mind podcast. Joining me on today's podcast is Matthew Arau. He is an author, a speaker, a coach, and he is the founder of Upbeat Global. Welcome to the show, Matthew. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Aliyah, for the invitation. It's great to join you.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Um, Tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to where you're at today with Upbeat Global.
Yeah, well, I'd love to. I'm a musician. I'm a conductor, and I actually started my career teaching middle school band and high school band in Loveland, Colorado, where I taught for 15 years. And during that journey, I discovered how important it was to empower students, and I began teaching leadership and servant leadership to my students, and that transformed the culture of our band programs. Then I did a doctorate degree in conducting and started teaching at the college level, and I had the opportunity to start sharing publicly about what I'd created as a high school band director. We called it the Leadership Symposium, and that led to speaking engagements beginning in 2014, state, national, and international conferences to share how I was able to transform culture through focusing on mindset, mindfulness, and leadership. In 2018, my wife and I created Upbeat Global, our company, and whose mission is to inspire positivity through leadership and music around the world. And it's been an incredible journey. In December 2021, I published my first book, which I'm really excited to share. It's titled Upbeat: Mindset, Mindfulness, and Leadership. Yeah. And it became a bestseller in my field almost instantly. Went into second printing in 2 months, which is incredible. But that led to more and more invitations to share. And what started off as sharing in the music field expanded to the education field and working with teachers of all subject areas and school districts. And then those invitations grew to working with athletic departments at the university level and wellness, the National Wellness Institute, as an example, and then senior level executives like presidents and vice presidents, and more recently, speaking and consulting and training in the corporate business world, which has been very exciting, sharing the message of Upbeat Global, which we can go into more detail about what that means.
Sure, absolutely. So I think it's so cool that you've brought mindset and personal growth and development into the realm of music, and that bridging that, I think, probably has given you amazing results with the students and everyone that's involved in that.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about Upbeat. Now, I've read Upbeat and it's such a cool book. I just want you to know, like, I thought it was the coolest book ever. You touch on so many things like intentions and stuff like that, the type of language that I love to speak. So I'm gonna pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit about the book, because I think the book is such an amazing book.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Aliyah, for just putting your time and energy into taking it all in. That means a lot to me. So let me just share, the word upbeat is an exciting word, right? Because you look at the word upbeat, and a lot of people, words come to your mind when you think of the word upbeat. And I'll actually ask people, say, like, what are some words that come to your mind? And the way I spark that conversation is I'll ask, how many of you have an upbeat person in your life? So somebody who maybe you might go to if you're having a hard day, or somebody who's a good listener, maybe that shoulder to cry on, or somebody where maybe you're kind of going down that negative rabbit hole and they're able to kind of help you climb out, or maybe help climb that emotional ladder one rung at a time, right? They're that supporter, that encourager for you. Then I say, what are some words that you might use to describe your upbeat person? And I often hear words like, positive, energizing, caring, good listener, all super important. And then I'll ask, how many of you also think of a musical idea when you think of the word upbeat? And then people, oh yeah, the tempo, right? The speed of the music. And then People remember from their early music days, like learning to tap their foot to the music. And when your foot goes down, it's the downbeat, foot goes up, it's the upbeat. And then I'll share how the upbeat is connected to conducting. And this is always a lot of fun. So as a speaker, I'll get the whole room standing up and we'll actually engage with some of the basics of conducting. Why don't we try it right now, Lee? Is that okay?
Sure. Let's
We'll do it with all your listeners. Okay, cool. So everybody take your hands and put them up and give me some jazz hands. Woo. All right. All right, now just bring your hands to stillness. And now imagine that your hands are pressed against a pane of glass. And I want you to actually feel the glass. Like feel your hands pressing against this glass. Maybe it's like a sliding glass door or a big window, right? And now start to just slide down the glass. And then as you come down maybe a foot, foot and a half, start to bring your arms parallel to the ground. Okay. And now imagine that your hands are touching a tabletop, maybe smooth glass, polished wood, or smooth granite, right? And we're just call this a table. Now with your fingertips, just start to tap on that tabletop. Just you kind of feel that, just with your fingertips. And now move from your wrists. So the kind of larger joints, really good. Yeah, just kind of tapping on it, feeling it. And now we're going to move from a bigger joint. We're going to move from our elbows. Okay, just up and down. Okay. And this is really cool because as a conductor, you can change the quality of the music based on how you touch that tabletop. So imagine that you're touching a hot stove, like, like you wouldn't stay there a long time, or you'd bounce off, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so this is actually what we call staccato in music, where the notes are separated, right? But sometimes we hold on to the notes and we call that tenuto. It comes from the word tenere, which is to hold. So you might like hold on a little bit longer, and that kind of stretches the music, right? And sometimes music is really forceful, and you might hammer the front of the note like boom, boom, right? And then sometimes music is epic and incredible energy, right? And think about those moments in the music. There's this huge build, and then what we call like the big climax in the music. And so to practice this, imagine that you're in a swimming pool and you're going to splash somebody. So now you work on your splash technique. Just splash, splash, right? How's that cool? Right. And now you're starting to feel what it's like as a conductor. And then I'll take the room through the upbeat. And the neat thing about the upbeat is you breathe in on the upbeat. So you might breathe in your mouth like this. And then on the downbeat, you come down, you exhale. And when you connect with that tabletop on the exhale, that's when the music's created. So imagine you're standing in front of an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
The conductor brings the orchestra together, and everybody, the beginning of a piece of music is so powerful because there's the silence, but there's an eager anticipation, right? Mm. And the conductor hears the music in their head before it's created. The audience is in suspense. There's that moment, right, before the sound's created. And then the conductor breathes in, and the music's created. But the magic happens in the mind before the sound.
Yes.
Isn't that cool? And so that's the metaphor, is that we create in the mind before it's created in action and reality. And so I share this idea that our thoughts are the upbeats to our actions, just like the music is created in the upbeat, and then it's sounded in the downbeat. So our thoughts are the upbeats to our action. Our attitude is our upbeat to any situation.
Wow.
And we choose our thoughts and our attitude.
Mm-hmm.
We choose our upbeat.
Yeah.
And that's the premise of Upbeat and my message that I share with folks. It's very empowering. It's very freeing. And it's also authentic and genuine. So it's not toxic positivity. It's
Right.
not like ignoring the challenges at all. In fact, it is very much real in saying life can be very challenging. In fact, if I have a room of people and I ask folks, no matter what age, like how many of you have something on your heart weighing on or how many of you have a challenge in life that you're dealing with right now? Every hand goes up, no matter what. It just is an acknowledgement that we're all tending to something on our heart. But the message of Upbeat is this: rather than focus on what is wrong, focus on what you want to create.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. We're creators. We're created to be creators. I firmly believe that. And when we activate that creative energy, that's when everything just comes together so beautifully. I love that.
And I'll share, there's nothing wrong with focusing on what is wrong. In fact, I think that's an important step,
Mhm.
right? Is we need to, if we're going to move from here to here, we need to see, okay, what are the challenges? What are the struggles? What are the injustices? What needs to be tended to? But sometimes people stay there
Right.
and they become the complainers and the blamers and they go down that negative rabbit hole and they don't make change. You can also go from rather than focus on what is wrong, focus on what is right, which can help us maybe shift our mindset in the moment, right? We can focus on positives that are happening that can help us shift. But I think focusing on what you want to create is next level.
Yeah.
And you're being a solution finder.
Yes.
And you're also saying, how can I take a challenge and turn it into an opportunity, which is a beautiful way to look at life. And in some languages, it's the same word for opportunity and challenge. And I love knowing that, right? That
Interesting.
you can look at it that way. And I
Uh-huh.
think people that are successful in life often see that.
Yeah.
They look at the challenge and like, how can this become an opportunity and just a mindset shift?
Yeah. They're actually excited about the challenge. They're like, ooh, how can I fix this? How can I solve this problem? That's absolutely that's absolutely a phenomenal way to take it. A lot of people, they will stay there. I think the majority of people without the understanding of mindset will stay dwelling on the problem and as a result create more negative situations because they're a creative being whether they're aware of it or not. And in essence, they stay in the negative space and they create more negativity. And then they say, well, this is evidence of that. Yeah, because you're constantly in this loop of negative creation versus a loop of solution oriented creation. So, yeah, so cool. So cool. I love it.
I love what you shared there. I share when I work with whether it's individuals or groups that I've discovered in life is whatever you're looking for, you'll find.
Mhm. So
And I
true.
see this with interactions with people. We actually do this activity with groups of people I call positive bumper cars. And it's so much fun. I combine like being in a bumper car ride with Transformers. More than meets the eye, right? And this whole idea that so all of a sudden we as human beings we become what I call a positive bumper car. And I'll share what we do. We just make this shape, kind of bring the hands together and kind of a diamond here. And
Okay.
you just mill around in a group and you like connect. We can try it on Zoom here. We just connect elbows.
Okay.
And then you look at the person you're facing and you share the first positive thing that pops into your mind about them.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter if it's somebody you've never met or somebody you know. It can be like, I love your smile or great haircut, love your glasses, or it could be something on a deeper level too. And then they share something positive back to you, and you both accept the compliment, which I recognize can be difficult. For sometimes we're accepting a compliment is tough, but we just practice saying thank you. And then you go and connect with somebody else. And we do this game for only like 60 seconds to 90 seconds. And then I'll bring it to a close and I'll have everybody at the end, we kind of like pretend we run out of gas. So we just kind of and collapse. And then we bring everybody up and I say, how did it feel to share positives about people? And everyone's like, I felt great. How did it feel to receive? People are like, oh yeah, that felt really great. And then I'll say, well, how many of you would like to feel this way more often in life?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, me. And then I say, well, you can. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And I said, for those like
At the
60 to 90,
supermarket, anywhere.
yeah, right. And I said, you were looking for the good in others. You were looking for the light in others.
Hmm.
And guess what? Whatever you look for, you'll find. And I think that's a beautiful thing because we can spend our life looking for things that annoy us or bother us. And that's certainly easy to do.
Hmm.
But we can also look for the goodness in others and then not just keep it to ourselves. It's about sharing that.
Yeah.
And you never know like the ripple effect that can be created when you share something positive. You never know what somebody's going through, and one like smile or one nice kind gesture can change somebody's world.
Sure. Especially if it's someone that looks frustrated. What most people we don't realize is like if someone is having a bad day and you actually lend just a little bit of compassion to them in that moment, it changes their entire vibration.
Mm.
And sometimes what we do is we see someone that's having a bad day and we ignore them. And we walk away. We say, well, I don't want that negative energy in my world. Rather than bringing some positive energy into their world, we shun them. We walk away. It's unfortunate that we do that, but I think a lot of people can maybe show a little bit of compassion when they see someone that's having a tough day. Even if they're yelling or they're upset, or just recognizing them in that moment sometimes makes a big impact. And asking them, just a little conversation with them, a short conversation can change their world.
I agree with you.
So I wanted to touch on intentions because I loved that part of your book. What makes intentions so important? I love intentions.
Woo. Well, I think that's so important. I think in life we, have choices in how we live life. An analogy I use or a metaphor is that sometimes it can feel like life is like you're a pinball in a pinball machine, just randomly going from one thing to the next, and life is out of control, and you have no control of what's happening to you, right? Just kind of random chaos. And sometimes it can feel like you're just reacting
Mm-hmm.
and just surviving. If I could just make it through the day, if I can just make it to the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I would call that's a way of living that's not being intentional. You're letting like kind of happen to you, but you don't realize that you're also playing a role in the day that you're creating. And so when you set an intention, it's about it's similar to this upbeat concept, right? Where as a musician, I study the music before I conduct it. So I get an aural image of what I want the music to sound like in my inner ear before I start rehearsing the group. I do the same thing with my day. And it can begin in the morning. It can also begin the night before you go to sleep to set your intention. So it's programmed in your subconscious mind all night, which is very powerful. But let's say we just wake up in the morning and we want to set our intention for the day. And it can begin with, the moment you wake up in the morning, expressing gratitude for the day. And for me, I actually focus on one of four things when I wake up in the morning. And I can share what those are right now because it's really powerful. If you focus on one of these four things for 17 seconds, it's enough time for a thought to become sticky.
Mm-hmm.
And so when a thought becomes sticky, it starts to attract thoughts like that. So that's really powerful. And so the four things are: you can focus on something that brings you joy, something that brings you comfort, something that fills you with gratitude, or number four, what are you looking forward to that day? And already now you're in this, what we call the positive realm, imagining the kind of day you want to create.
Sure.
Because I do have a morning meditation practice, during the meditation practice, I do start to visualize the day I'd like to create. And it's not so much that I can predict every interaction that's going to happen. It's more about, how do I want to be today?
Mm.
What kind of energy do I want to bring? So sometimes it's setting an intention to be fully present.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be fully present today and engaged and in the moment, in the now, with whomever I'm fortunate enough to interact with, or who comes across my path this day. So that's a powerful intention to set. So you can set an intention in the morning for the full day. Maybe you set an intention to lead with kindness, like you shared. I do think that leading with kindness is a leadership act. I'll share with folks of all ages that when you choose to be kind to somebody, that's a leadership decision. Because a lot of people just walk on by, as you shared.
Yeah.
When you choose to encourage somebody who needs encouragement, that's a leadership decision,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're choosing to lead that way, which I think is beautiful. But you don't just have to set your intentions in the morning. You can set your intentions throughout the day.
Sure.
Before maybe the next activity. So you can, let's say you're working on a work project and you block time out. You set your intention before you engage in that, of what kind of energy do I want to bring? What is the outcome that I want to have from this?
Mhm.
And then you kind of work on that project, and then you might move to the next thing, which might be, some exercise or fueling your mind with positive things, maybe reading a personal growth book. Okay, so I set my intention. What do I want to get out of this? And it can be really powerful throughout the day. Maybe when you come home from work, if you're a commuter, you set your intention after a long day at work before you get out of the car. And now maybe you're home with your loved ones. What kind of energy do I want to bring into the house? So you're very intentional about it. And this way you are choosing your upbeat throughout the day.
I love that. I love that. Attention to intention is something that I spend a lot of time like driving home because like I noticed that when I became very intentional about everything, even as I leave to go somewhere, when I set intentions to get there at a certain time, even if I'm running late, somehow I make it like on time just from setting the intention. I don't know where the time goes. I actually feel like we warp time through intention setting. Like, I'm just throwing that out there. Like, I've just witnessed it in my own life, and I'm like, that's so bizarre. Like, and I'll set intentions. I'll set intentions to go in and clean up the kitchen, and I'll give myself a time window. And I just go in. There's nothing, there's no distractions whatsoever. Just go in, do what I have to do, and I'm done. Or, and it
Amazing.
makes you so efficient. It's something so little that makes you so efficient in life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree. When you are with that kind of mindset, you can have a mindset that says, I will always have enough time.
Yeah,
That's a spirit of abundance. There will always be enough time,
yeah.
as opposed to I'm racing the clock,
Hmm.
right? There's not enough time
Yeah,
because whatever you focus on expands.
right. And there's not enough time. Individuals are always running late. It doesn't matter if they leave early, they always are running late. Like they can leave early. I have one of those individuals in my life. I love her to pieces. She's like, she knows who she is. She'll listen to this.
Great.
But intentions, like it's just intentions, and it's so simple. Like you just set it and you forget it, like it's that simple. You set it, you have to take a moment to set it, and then you just forget it. Just go about and do what you have to do. And once you get into that routine of doing it, it happens on time, all the time, every time. And when it doesn't happen on time, it's so unusual that you're almost probably being guided for it not to happen on time, you know, because
Right.
you set out with the right intentions. That's the other key too, because like life doesn't always play out the way that we think it's going to. And when it doesn't, it's because it's not meant to. Like,
Mhm.
and it's okay to release it. Like, it's just not meant to. Like, you did everything you could on your part to make it happen. But if other circumstances blocked that, then that's okay.
Yeah, and then that's the way you respond to that is almost like, okay, I guess, the universe had other intentions for me, and let's see where
Exactly.
it goes, right? Right, and that's really really cool. I would share that also the state we're in when we set an intention matters.
Yes. So true.
I love like to maybe take a mindful breath and get centered and then set the intention. I think if we set the intention while we're like really stressed and stuff, that energy is going to go to the intention and kind of mess with
Keep
it. But
it.
if we,
Yeah.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
so that the energy and feeling that you attach to the intention impacts as well. So that's really important.
Yeah. I've full on, I know that I've warped time with intention settings and like getting to a destination because I remember driving, the normal drive would normally take about 45 minutes, and I got there in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes. And I didn't even look at the clock. I didn't do anything, and it blew my mind. I was like, how is this possible? Like I was driving at the speed limit. I wasn't speeding or anything. But like from like I know that I warped time with intentions. Like I've played around with that many times, but I love intentions. I think they're so powerful. And when we can tune into a just timeless feel while we're intention setting, it just, I don't know, it makes you, Bob Proctor said this so wisely. He said, you slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
And it totally made sense. Like even the meditations and the morning meditations or the evening meditations, you slow down to detox your mind in the meditation, to relax the things that were impressed upon you, and to bring your attention to the things you want to have happen in your life. And you bring your attention, and I like to bring my attention to a place of nothing, because I really feel like information flows in when I can hold nothing. It sounds weird, but nothing is something. But if you can hold nothing, then you're able to allow, stuff to flow in. But yeah, what are your meditations like? What do you focus on? What brings you through meditation?
Oh, that's great. And I kind of explore different ideas. Sometimes I'll use a breathing practice, like I'll do some vagal breathing to begin with, and one of those practices, it'll sound kind of funny here, but you breathe in and then you puff out your cheeks. You hum out, like it's kind of like this. This will be funny on the podcast, but and the humming actually stimulates the vagus nerve, which is really important, right? Because that ignites our parasympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
So I actually do that as kind of like a healing breath, and then I may actually move into box breathing, which is in your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, out the mouth for 4 counts, hold, and then hold for 4 counts and repeat. And that kind of helps me get to a centered place. And then, so that kind of is my preparation. And then I'll move to a more of a standard meditation practice. I like to put my palms up. I sit on a cushion and cross-legged, and I have my palms up to receive energy. And so I like to actually do a chakra opening meditation for healing. And so when you kind of tap into the energy field around us, then you can feel the energy coming through your crown chakra. And then I like to feel that energy coming, into me. And sometimes I like to kind of focus on the different chakras, right? So the crown, and then the third eye, and then the throat, and then the heart. And then I really focus on the kind of the stomach, solar plexus area, because that's where I have some health challenges. So I'm trying to, right now, my meditation, a lot of it is for healing, a lot of healing meditation. But I've also done meditations like you were talking about, where you focus on the breath, just in and out, and you try to just kind of keep your focus there. And what I share with people, because a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can't meditate," or "I failed at meditation." I say, well, you can't fail at meditation because it's a practice. And because I also I teach online courses on my materials, and so I've been a mindfulness coach also, and an online teacher for many years, and I share mindfulness as a practice, meditation as a practice. You never master it, and people think, "Oh, I keep thinking thoughts," and I'm like, "That's okay. Everybody, thoughts are going to come, and that's part of it. That's fine." Even people that are meditators or monks that have been meditating their entire life, you don't focus on stopping the thoughts. What you do is you think of non-judgmentally. You just accept them and let them pass. Yeah.
I will power here. Success isn't for everyone. It demands focus, discipline, and strategy. Introducing the OWLS method, designed for those who take their goals seriously. O. Become the observer of your thoughts and feelings. Analyze them. Become aware of your emotions and beliefs. Only then can you master your mind. W. You should write down your goals, every detail, every step, and write the thoughts and affirmations that will drive you relentlessly toward them. L. Listen. Fill your mind only with knowledge that will move you to your goal. Write affirmations that fuel your ambition. No distractions. No compromise. S. Speak with certainty. Your words reflect your beliefs. When you speak, it's not a possibility, it's an inevitability. It's confidence. Observe, write, listen, and speak. The OWLS method. Master your thoughts. Conquer your goals.
Yeah, and so once people realize it's a practice, it's almost like this relief, like, oh, I thought I was supposed to just see nothing, think nothing, and just float away.
No,
And I'll share, there might be moments where you're so in the present, and that's beautiful. But when a thought comes, you just observe, which is a wonderful practice because it helps us in life. Because in life, we might have gotten rattled or reacted to things like that and said things we regretted. But by having a daily practice, it helps us for the unforeseen experiences and circumstances that we're going to run into in the day to respond from a more centered place.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can just take a deep breath before you respond, and it'll actually change what you say because you're coming from that grounded place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love meditation. Like, I really love meditation. I think meditation has changed my life in so many ways. And I meditated for years up until my meditations became so mind adjusting. And I say that because like now I can go into meditation and even as a thought like floats in, like there's no emotional attachment to the thought. And that takes a while to practice. That's not something that, it's like you said, it is practice. And it's an amazing feeling when you're able to just observe it, not have an emotional attachment to it or reaction to it, and then just watch it dissipate.
Mhm.
And as you're doing that as well, you're also like your heart is your feeling zone. You're also making sure that your feeling zone stays in that place of calm because
Mm.
our feeling zone wants to get activated by the thought process. And our feeling zone wants to, if the thought is not a good thought, our feeling is like, oh, now I'm angry. I'm feeling it.
Yep.
And if you're doing a meditation, you find yourself in the feeling zone being taken because of a thought, it's good, it's observation. Even if you may feel like you're failing at the meditation, you're not. You're actually winning because you're observing the thought and you're now observing the feeling. So
Right.
you're actually winning in that because there's a process of being able to observe it, and now you're the observer of it. So it's a process. You don't wake up and then, all of a sudden be able, even as I speak of getting to nothingness, that's a process. That is a process.
Well, this is a great conversation because you brought up the word observer, and if we think about it, we actually are not our thoughts and our feelings. We're the observer of them, and when you can distance yourself, that helps us uh, with our own ego
Yes,
because we are not our ego,
right.
and we are the observer of it. And so, the more aware we can be, that helps us to understand. Because sometimes people identify like I'm an angry person, I'm a mean person, but you can say like, no, you're the observer of these emotions, and then when that leads to detachment, and that can help us respond more appropriately, and I think also find our true path in life. And sometimes our ego leads us astray.
Yes, yes. I had Christina Steinhoff on my podcast a while back, and she gave such a beautiful explanation. She said it's like the projector that projects the image out. She goes, but we're not even the projector. We're the electricity behind, we're the energy behind
Yes.
that even fuels the projector that allows the projector to project it out onto the screen.
I love that. I love that way of looking at things. And you might even take it a step further and say, well, we're actually the observer of the energy of
Yes.
that takes it.
Yes, I mean there's so many layers that I think we can pull back the veil on. We
Yeah.
can, and that's what I think, like, this concept of the veil, I think there's probably like multiple layers built into our perception. Like it's almost like wearing like five sunglasses and you take one off. and then you start to see a little bit clearer, and you take another one off, and you start to see a little bit clearer, and you take another one off. And then when you're down to, well, I can't even assume that I'm down to like a lesser sunglass because there might still be layers on there that I can't even see.
Yeah, yeah,
But I think that's basically, just it's layered on there, and then we shed as we grow, we shed.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
So, tell us a little bit about Upbeat. Like, tell us about Upbeat Global.
absolutely. Well, one of the powerful messages of Upbeat Global that's really resonated with folks around the United States and around the world is what I call the power of get. And this concept for many folks has led to absolute paradigm shift and transformation in their lives. And there's a school district in Calgary, Alberta, that has chosen to become an upbeat school district and adopt the power of get as a theme for their entire school district, which is pretty amazing because it's going to touch so many people. There's 118 schools, grades K through 12, 63,000 students, and 6,500 teachers and staff. And their focus is on this changing from being a have-to school district to a get-to school district.
Mm.
So what is the power of get? Okay. On September 12, 2020, I woke up in our home. My wife and I, we live in Neenah, Wisconsin. And because it's Wisconsin, it gets quite cold. So we have a swimming pool that can only be open from May to the end of September. Because of September 12, 2020, I wanted to go for a swim that morning and enjoy the pool before it was going to be closed very soon. But when I woke up, it was dark, dreary, super cold. It was about 40 degrees. And it was windy, and to top it off, it was raining. And it wasn't just like a light rain, it was like a deluge, like buckets, right? And so I realized I'm not going to be able to go for a swim. So I made some tea or coffee, and then I started journaling. I got out a notebook, and I found that during the pandemic, I became much more introspective and reflective during this time. The lockdown, it was just so quiet. I really connected more with nature, so I started journaling every morning. That really helped. Because of September 12, 2020, I thought about the day before, September 11, 2020, but I didn't journal about the day before. I journaled about 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
And on 9/11, I was a middle school band director in Loveland, Colorado. And when I drove to school that day, I had no idea that our lives were about to change forever.
Mm-hmm.
I heard something from the principal that he'd heard on the radio. He said somebody flew a plane into one of the towers in New York City, and that's all he knew. It sounded so strange. What do you mean somebody flew a plane? So I went into the band room and I turned on the television, and I could see that it wasn't just a small plane that accidentally flew into the building, right? And we all
Right.
remember
Yeah.
that day, or if we weren't born, we've seen scenes. But just about 10 minutes after I turned on the television, some students started walking into my room, the sixth graders. So imagine 11-year-old students coming in with their instruments for band class. And now they're seeing what's happening live in front of our very eyes in New York City. And we didn't get our instruments out. We just sat there in silence. And at the end of the first class together, we saw the first tower crumble in flames, and we had no words, right? And then the next sixth grade band students came in, and together we watched the news in silence happen before our very eyes. And then the second tower crumbled in flames, and we had no words. And then after lunch, the seventh graders and then the eighth graders started coming in. Well, the seventh graders started walking into the room, and there was a student, she saw the TV was on, and she said, "Can we turn the TV off? We've been watching the news in every class, and it's just so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get our instruments out? Can we play today?" And I said, that's a really great idea. So I turned the TV off, we got our instruments out, and we started warming up. And then we had a method book that has a whole bunch of pieces of music in it. And we were at the beginning of the year, so number 6 is what we were about to play. And it turned out it was a piece titled America.
Mm.
The words are, "My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing."
Mm-hmm.
And we played America over and over and over again. And then the eighth graders came in and we got our instruments out and they had a piece of music in their folders already. It was an arrangement of Amazing Grace.
Mm-hmm.
And we played Amazing Grace over and over and over again. And on that day, my students and I came to understand the true superpower of music in a way that none of us had ever experienced before.
It's
And I
very,
came to, yeah, go on.
it's very healing. It's very nourishing. It's very, I believe we're vibrational beings, so I believe that music carries a frequency that vibrates with our being. And yeah, that's wow, what a beautiful story.
Yeah, and there's a saying that I really grasped that day, which is when words fail, music speaks.
Mm-hmm.
And so on that day, like we had music to express what words couldn't, right? There were no words, but we had music to express from our heart, the human soul. And so as I was reflecting on that day, I started making a to-do list. Right? Many of us make to-do lists in the morning, and I do too. But something in my mind switched that morning, being in the midst of the pandemic and reflecting on 9/11. And what happened is I just added one word to my to-do list, and that word is get. So now my to-do list read something like this. I get to email Sarah. I get to call Mark. I get to, prepare to teach my classes at the college. I get to study my music. And then I wrote something surprising. I wrote, I get to dance in the rain and I get to go for a swim. And so I put on my swim shorts, and even though it was freezing cold and raining outside, I went outside, I went to the edge of the pool, and I did like a little jig, and then I dove into the pool, and I'm swimming in the pool, and I'm thinking about all that I get to do, right? All that I get to do. I get to have this breath. I get to have this life. I get to inspire people. I get to motivate people to help them reach their full potential and to shatter their limiting beliefs. And I just thought all that I get to do. And as I was swimming, I thought, well, why am I so jazzed about get? And I realized get is about right now.
Mm.
Get is about the present moment, which is the only moment that's ever guaranteed. And I thought, what if I could live my life in the spirit of get? And I got out of the pool and dried myself off, went inside, and I thought, what if I could assign meaning to those three letters, G-E-T? And so that's what I did. G is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
To live every day in the spirit of gratitude. And how often do we feel appreciation for somebody and keep it to ourselves? And I thought, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to share gratitude freely. And then E is for enthusiasm, to live life with enthusiasm. And what's really powerful about the word enthusiasm is it comes from the Greeks.
Mm-hmm.
If you break the word down, N is within, thus is God or gods, and iasm is essence. So enthusiasm truly means the essence of God within us. I thought if you knew that, how would you live your life knowing that the spirit is within you?
Yes.
And then T is for treasure.
Mm-hmm.
To treasure the people in our lives, but importantly, to remember that each one of us is a treasure. You're a treasure. Every listener is a treasure. But sometimes we forget. We forget. We're givers, we're sharers, we focus on everybody else, and we forget that we're a treasure, that we are a light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the most important sacred things we can do in life is to shine our light brightly and to remember that we don't have to look outside of ourselves for that treasure. The treasure is right here. We already have it within us to share our own unique treasures and gifts. And so I've been sharing the power of get through Upbeat Global, and some of the feedback that's come back has really been meaningful. Here's one story. I was talking with a teacher, and she was an elementary music teacher, and she said, I wear all these hats. I'm a music teacher, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, all these different things that I do. And sometimes life can feel like just a bunch of check boxes you got to check off. And I think we can feel that way. Sometimes we're in this hamster wheel, just we can't keep up, just trying to survive the day and then get to sleep and make it through the next day. And so she was reading a bedtime story to one of her daughters, and she was thinking, I just got to get through this. I got to get through this. But after she was exposed to Upbeat and the power of get, the next time she read a bedtime story to her daughter, she thought differently. She said, you know what? I get to read a bedtime story to my daughter because in just a few short years, she's not going to want me to anymore.
So
And so
true.
she decided to just realize that every moment is a get moment when it comes down to it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Taking it from getting through this to I get to do this is
Yes.
it's so beautiful, so powerful.
Yeah. So that's a really powerful message that I've been sharing. And it's been wonderful to see the impact at all ages, right? Because I'll do like school assemblies, with elementary, middle school, or high school students. I'll work with school districts and educators. Then I'll work with companies and corporations, and then just it's that shift of looking at things. And what's amazing is that we can increase like engagement and fulfillment when we make that shift. Because actually in the US, engagement and is down at work. People
Mhm.
often don't feel fulfilled. The data says like only like 10% of people are like really truly happy at work.
That's true.
And a lot we hear about like silent quitting and people just kind of showing up, but they're not invested. But if we can shift our attitude towards what we're doing and realize that, oh, we get to do this, and you focus on being purpose driven or mission driven, like what is the impact of what you're doing here, right? Are you part of something bigger than yourself? Are you contributing? Are you seeing the influence and the impact that you're making based on what you're doing here, and making a difference in somebody's life? And I think when we connect that, all of a sudden, people's motivation is elevated, and then their feeling of excitement and enthusiasm for what they do changes.
Mhm. So true. I I think when we're able to shift that vibrational frequency within ourselves, that's a type of self-mastery that we really we have control over. It's never the outside environment that's controlling us. It's always the inside that controls the outside environment. Um, when you spoke about that story, you just took me back, like you took me back to that point. I actually lived in New York during 9/11, and I actually witnessed it with my eyes. So those two towers was something that I actually witnessed. And what was interesting is that that event changed, I think permanently changed my life to a certain degree, because I realized that for me, I grown up in New York. For me, the life that I had experienced in New York was so chaotic that I just had a desire for peace. I had a desire for the opposite. And when I got to, I think I was like 23 or 24, I just like picked up and left. That was it. And that was only like 2 years after 9/11 had happened, but it always kind of sat with me. I was like, I want to leave, I want to leave, I want to leave. And everybody has this like this idea of like they want to go to New York, they want to go to New York. Everybody that I meet, oh, they want to go to New York. I'm like, nope, I had to run away. It's a whole different vibration when you live there. And it's a lot more chaotic because there's so many people and there's so many different energies. And
Mhm.
and you don't have that sort of alone time, yet you feel lonely amongst all of the energies. It's a very bizarre thing to explain. You're there, you don't feel comfortable in it. There's a lot of chaos. You can't walk down at one city block without observing chaos. And as a result, it programs people that live in New York to chaos, like, and this happens in a lot of large cities, not just New York. But I really found my peace when I got to Arizona. Arizona was the thing that brought me peace, and it still does. Like, I love like going hiking, going up into the mountains, and I just love that time where when I'm alone, I don't feel lonely. I feel like I'm so present and there's so much going on around me in terms of like comfort. And it's very different, it's a very different experience, but you totally like triggered my memory on that. I was like, ah, I remember those days. I
Yeah.
remember those days. I haven't, the last time I was back in New York was like 2009, or I just haven't even gone back. I was like, I'm good. I'll go see the rest of the world. I've seen enough in New York. We're good.
Yeah, well, Arizona connects you to nature, I think, in such a beautiful way. There's
Does.
a hike is, going to be 20 minutes away,
Yeah,
and I think connecting to nature is, what we're meant to do. And sometimes the cities take us away from nature, and that can be, difficult. That leads to disconnection also.
it does. It does. I've thought about things. I mean, there's certain parks that are there that are kind of relaxing to go for a stroll through, like Central Park and stuff, but it's not like being immersed. Like you're still conscious of the buildings that surround you. It's not like being immersed in nature, like really, just listening to the sound of like, I love walking through a canyon and just listening like it just excites me just listening to the conversations of the birds and the animals, like as they scurry by, like you just listen to and just observe, and to me that just it feels so good. It feels so good.
I agree.
Yeah, doing a meditation in that environment feels so good too, like
You're
meditating
taking
to sirens would have never worked.
right. Whole different feeling.
Whole different feeling. um what's next for you? What is your visions? What are your goals?
Well, that's wonderful. It's just been so moving to feel the impact and transformation as I've shared the upbeat message around the world, and to hear back from people how it's changed their personal life and their professional life, and it's become a calling for me. In fact, when I wrote Upbeat, when I wrote this book, this was also a calling. I'd been sharing the message with so many, thousands of people, and people would always say, like, "Is there a book?" And my response was, "There's not time. I don't have time because I'm a full-time professor and I was traveling. I still travel all the time, speaking and training and coaching. But during the pandemic, all of a sudden I had time. I was teaching virtually and I was at home, and I had this compulsion, and it really was something I had to do to contribute. It was my way to give back during the pandemic. It was my way to serve. And so that led me to write the book. And as I've been sharing more and more and more with more and more people, I want to broaden Upbeat Global, and that's the big vision beyond me. All right, Upbeat Global is way bigger than me. Right, this is a message that the world needs, that we need to lift up. We need to find ways to bring more light into the world. When we turn on the TV, the news is, often focusing on the negative and fear, and so people can start to look at life as that's what life is, chaos and fear, because that's what we focus on again and again and again. But when we can shift our focus and be part of the positive change, beginning with ourselves and then creating a positive ripple effect of change with others, that's what the world needs more of. And so we've created the Upbeat movement, and so many people have joined this movement to be part of this ripple effect. And one way that people can connect and start to become part of the community is through my Facebook group called Upbeat Leaders.
Mhm.
And that's a wonderful collaborative community, that I'm sharing stuff every single day in with people, and really vibrant conversations. And then I want to be able to take it to the next level, right? And have Upbeat certified speakers, trainers, and coaches to do what I'm doing.
I love
And so that's the invitation. And as I've presented in Australia or Southeast Asia or in Europe and in Canada, I've extended the invitation. Who would like to lock arms and join me? And it's always very exciting because there are folks that, yes, I want to be part of this. I want to do what you're doing. And I think that's how you create massive impact, is when it's not just about one person. It becomes bigger than that person. It becomes about the message.
it.
And so that's where we're moving next, for Upbeat, is to take that movement and bring in more people to be part of it. which is so exciting. The resources for Upbeat are greatly expanding. So we started with one book. This December, we're coming out and publishing the Upbeat Daily Journal, which very excited about. Every day has a quote from the book and reflective questions. And then the other resource that's coming out is the Upbeat Daily Planner, the ultimate guide for your get-to-dos.
I
Which,
love that.
yes, I think I really think both are incredible products or resources that we've test piloted them out with so many people. And while the first book focused on like stories were from music education, which is great, people can all connect to that. And that's what's been neat about the book is that people of all backgrounds have read the book and got a lot out of it. But I designed the journal and the planner to be absolutely universal. So now it speaks to everyone, which was my goal. And in March, we're coming out with the Upbeat Leadership Workbook, which is a companion to the book. Again, universal. So entrepreneurs can use this. Anybody, business owners can use the workbook. Original book, Upbeat, is going to be coming out on Audible in a couple months as well. So we're really expanding the offerings for folks to get involved, which I'm really, really excited about.
That's amazing. I love the work that you do. I think it's so inspiring, and the world so needs it as much as I think that, we've grown in a certain level of consciousness. If I turn on the news, I realize that we haven't. And it's very disappointing. But, I love more of this information being out there. I love what you do, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing all of this great information.
It's a real treat. It's a real treat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll share that if folks want to connect with me, my website's upbeatglobal.com.
Excellent.
So they can connect through there. My email is matthew@upbeatglobal.com. Folks can follow me on Facebook. Also, Upbeat Leaders is just a great group to join. We're up to almost 3,000 members in that group. And Instagram, LinkedIn, X, whatever is your favorite place to engage on social media.
Yeah.
But I'm a connector. I really love building relationships and connections and collaborating. I just love to collaborate, and I would just invite listeners that want to learn more and be part of the movement for positive change globally. I'd love to connect.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. We'll also link in the description how people can connect with you so that they'll be able to just have an easy way to click. And you'll also be on our podcast page, so everybody can get to you through that portal as well. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate all of the information and all of the insights that you shared with us today.
Been a treat and a pleasure. Thanks so much, Aaliyah.